Hello everyone and welcome to another language learning video. My name is Matthew Propes and thank you for joining me today. And as always, I invite you to subscribe and to activate the notifications so that you don't miss anything and you can join me on this journey as you see my process of language learning and my journey on becoming a more dedicated language learner. And today I want to talk about a subject that seems to come up in many circles and is asked many times, and it's a question that I've asked myself many times, and I have experimented with it before, and that is learning two languages at the same time. And as I've said, I have tried this actually three times that I can remember, with obviously varying levels of success. I have tried it with Duolingo in the past, and I am working with the Link system now, doing it as well. But I must say that I am breaking one of the language learning community rules when it comes to learning more than one language at the same time right now. Because one of these standard mantras, I guess if you could say, of the language learning community is that if you're going to try to learn more than one language at the same time, you should try to make them as different or as distant of languages as possible. For example, Spanish and Chinese, Portuguese and Russian, German and some Turkish, Arabic, something along those lines. Because you typically don't want to learn at the same time languages that are from the same family, from the same language family. I would never start Spanish and French, which is what I'm doing right now at this moment. I would never start Spanish and French from zero together. I believe that that is a recipe for learning disaster, if you will. But the reason that I am learning Spanish and French at the same time is because I have been able to progress a fairly good amount in my Spanish when I was learning Spanish only, and then with French I felt secure in starting that because I am or was what you would call a false beginner, because I took 2 years in school as a French student, one year in the 8th grade and 1 year in my freshman year of high school. So I had a foundation in French, and so I felt that I could at least give it a good solid attempt. The benefit is also the detriment when it comes to Spanish and French. On the one hand, the similarities make learning happen very quickly and very rapidly, as far as cognates and seeing words that are similar or from the same root in the Latin language or something along those lines. However, that also lends the risk of confusion or interference. There have been times when I have been trying to think of a specific French word and only the Spanish version came to my mind. There are videos about that, about interference and about blocking, and I can link to that in the description box. But when we think of terms of learning two Romance language in this case at the same time, there are languages, in my opinion, that are close, and then there are languages that are really close. I would put languages that are really close as an example with Spanish and Portuguese. When you look at the written versions, they are remarkably similar. Now, French and Spanish are very similar as well in the written versions. However, the pronunciations of the two languages are quite different, and that has been a way in which that I have been able to avoid more confusion than I otherwise would have encountered. Am I going to guarantee that I'm going to stick to this plan forever? No. I think plans in general, and especially plans with language learning, must be flexible. You can have guardrails up, but they must have options along the way. And as the great American poet Mike Tyson once said, and this is a paraphrase, I don't claim that it's an exact quote, but he said, "Everyone has a game plan until you get hit in the mouth." And so I think the same can be true for language learning, because we have a game plan, we have a schedule or a goal in place, and we have to modify it and tweak it along the way. Because if we don't tweak it and modify it along the way, then the plan or the goal becomes constricting, and it becomes demanding in and of itself. So I could very well tweak the plan in the future. I was hesitant to start learning French at the same time as learning Spanish. I had learned Spanish for a good while, again, as my methods are constantly being tweaked and adjusted, probably for a year and a half or more, probably 2 years before I started. And I was hesitant for that very reason. I was afraid that I was going to create confusion within myself. And so I probably was a introductory B2 in Spanish when I started as a false beginner in French, and I still consider myself a B2 in Spanish, but I'm much more further along the path heading towards C1 level than I was when I began studying French last April, in the middle or at the very beginning of the stay-at-home order that we had during at the beginning of the pandemic. And that was a part of my decision process as well. I had a whole lot more time on my hands. And so I am breaking one of the rules. I am studying 2 languages from the same language family, and I do not recommend that, and I don't know that anyone else recommends that as well. However, that's my reason. I did not start at 0 on either language, and I have sort of toggled and layered my levels in both of them. I would say I'm an A2 in French right now, and I had a head start, essentially, and I've been able to advance rapidly. However, if you are considering it and you have no experience in either language, I would recommend for you to pick 2 languages that are distant from one another. The other times I've tried to do it, I tried to learn Spanish and German at the same time, and then I just eventually suspended German, and I intend to go back to it in the future. But if you're thinking about learning 2 languages at the same time, make sure they are distant and from different families as much as possible, to allow your brain to categorize your times of study and your times of focus. Again, this is what I'm doing right now. I could tweak it in the future, but I just wanted to let you know what I am working on at the moment and why I'm learning 2 languages from the same family. And just in case anyone thought, why in the world is he doing that? No one else recommends that, and I don't recommend it either. But that's what I am working on at the moment. I might suspend one of them in the future, and I'll tell you right now, if I do suspend one of them, I'm going to suspend French, so I can go ahead and cross the C level threshold, the C1 threshold, as I go into more advanced levels in Spanish. But that's just what I wanted to talk about today, about the reason and the rationale as to why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it for the moment, and giving myself the latitude and the allowance to adjust my plan and tweak my plan as I'm going forward. And I recommend that you set yourself a plan that you can tweak and adjust and move as you go forward and as you progress in your language learning. So that's what I wanted to tell you about today. Remember to subscribe and activate the notifications so you don't miss anything. And thank you for joining me today.